These results were great. I have been so impressed with these results. So today I am talking to you about reading. Reading a book. Reading when you have no time, no energy, and no attention span. Now this resolution was something I started in January, but I needed to go a couple months so I could really see the results. The subject is books. I love to talk about books. I love to read. I have always loved to read since I was young and I first read all of the Nancy Drew books and I fell in love. Not with Nancy Drew, but with books. It has been a romance my entire adult life. Hello, welcome. I am Danielle, mother of 7. I homeschool and I have this YouTube channel. You come here to my channel for everything mom related. I don't think it will surprise any of you to hear that reading has declined significantly in the last decade. I guess we could all guess where that has come from. There is something about reading for me as a mom that is extremely therapeutic, kind of like an escape from reality. And I don't say that in a negative way. I say it in a really positive way. An escape from the mundane cooking, cleaning, changing diapers type of stuff I do. And I enjoy doing it. You know what I mean. To me, it's like always having the opportunity to go on an adventure, to learn something new, to see something from someone else's perspective. Invaluable. I have been one of the ones who said I just don't have time for reading like I used to. And that is true. It used to be that when I was into a good book, before I had kids or when I had only a couple, I could read for hours. And now if I get to read for 10 minutes uninterrupted, I'm like, yay, victory. I really don't like it when I hear excuses coming out of my mouth. And the fact that I'm not putting as much value on it, well, that bothered me. I don't think I need to go into the statistics of why it is so valuable for us to read. A couple that I just like to share is that it really improves cognitive function, focusing those brain cells. As a mom, I am constantly having to jump from thing to thing. And I notice that sometimes that actually affects my ability to just sit in the moment and focus on one thing. Reading is good practice with that. I also love seeing things from someone else's perspective. We get a lot of snippets into people's thought processes, but to take an author that we've heard good things about or that has been recommended to us and to just read it through step by step, that allows us to see in a much more in-depth way what their perspective is. And when we look at something from someone else's perspective, we have the opportunity to grow. As a mom, I constantly want to be growing. I want to be expanding in my ways of looking at the world. That leads me to something really important. If I want my children to love to read, but don't exemplify that love of reading myself, there is going to be a disconnect when I am encouraging them to do something that I haven't shown a passion in myself. Don't get overwhelmed by this. If you haven't read much, or if you haven't read lately, or if you haven't read much in front of your kids, it just takes a change now. And that's something I decided to do at the beginning of this year. I wanted to see how much I could read if I didn't put like a time frame or a goal of a certain amount of books or a certain amount of time per day. Instead, I decided I was going to set out books that I was into at different areas in the house. And whenever I had the opportunity, I was just going to grab a book and read a few pages. And instead of picking up my cell phone or doing some busy work that might, not be necessary, I would pick up a book. And I have been astounded by the results. I challenge you to join me in this endeavor. And that is just seeing where we can take a minute here, a minute there, 5 minutes here, 10 minutes there, and pick up a book instead of pick up something else. And sit on the couch next to our kid while they're reading and read a book ourselves. And how many books we can get through in the year. I know not everyone can get behind the book stack by the bed. It doesn't look organized, but this is the way I like it. It feels homey and comfortable. It feels like me. And so I'm just going to embrace it and love it. But I have a huge book stack by my bed, and all of them are either books that I'm reading or books that I want to read. So anytime I have a minute, I can choose from that stack. I also have a book in the bathroom. I have a book downstairs by the fireplace because that's where we love to read. So at the beginning of the year, I wrote a book list of books I knew I wanted to get to. And throughout the months, I have been just adding to it. Anytime I hear of a book that I'm like, oh, I want to read that. And then I have some just flat out fun books that I've read before that I know I love. Agatha Christie. I have read all of her works and I love her. I love tons of detective fiction. I have read every single Perry Mason. I have some classics that I have read before that I can always go back to if I just need a full-on carb fix. It's like carbs. So just a couple questions to ask yourself. Do I have a genuine value for reading? And if I don't, what would give me more of a value? Is it wanting my children to place value on it? Is it just knowing that that actually is life enhancing? It enhances our intellectual development. It enhances our ability to look at things from other people's perspective. And then it increases our knowledge base. At the end of our talk together, I'm going to recommend 5 books. I would also love to hear your recommendations of what you have loved to read in the past. What books have really helped you in parenting or in homeschooling? Yeah, let's just share what has benefited and impacted us so that we don't have to just reinvent the wheel ourselves. I could go through a stack of 10 books, or I could get a very great recommendation from one of my friends and just go straight to the good stuff. And just a couple tips for setting yourself up for success. I always try to read 10 minutes in the morning, preferably before the kids get up, and 10 minutes in the evening. A lot of times my 10 minutes in the evening goes too longer, but sometimes I have to stop myself because I will just keep reading even though I should be sleeping. Not everyone has that problem. I know my husband. Reading has a really different effect on the two of us. It puts him to sleep and it actually stirs me up and wakes me up mentally. Well, I don't know which one you relate with, but that's our dichotomy there. These are a few of the books I have read these last couple months or am currently reading. I read The Miracle Morning. Loved it. This was the version for parents and families. I really got a lot of great insight and I've been doing it, and I'm going to talk about this at another time, but I've been just putting some of their principles into my morning routine, just kind of get a little bit more out of my mornings. 5-hour school week. As a homeschooler, I just really enjoyed some of the perspectives in this, and I'm chewing on some of the things she talked about and really kind of pondering them. I got a few books from the library. One was Reading Magic. I just picked it up because it looked intriguing to me. Really enjoyed it. She had some great just inspirational stuff about reading aloud to your children. The one thing that reading really helps me with, it helps keep my inspiration high. And I think as a stay-at-home mom, when you're kind of in the trenches, it's really important to have those things that help you keep your inspiration high, keep yourself passionate about what you're doing. You know, homeschooling, let me just say, it is laborious at times, and it often feels thankless because it's just such a day in and day out journey where you don't always see the results of your labors. When you read books that are heavy into homeschooling inspiration, you're constantly reminded about why you do it. You're constantly given new ideas and new ways of looking at things, new ways of presenting things to your children. It's important. All right, then I'm reading Caroline Leaf's Clean Up Your Mental Mess. Great book. Really heavy in the neuroscientific verbiage in the beginning, but I've read her books before and really enjoy her. And I read a Worship Without Limits book because I lead worship at church. I just wanted to keep expanding my insights into that. As I finish books, and then I write it down and I write the month I completed it. And at the end of the year, I'm going to be able to look at all these books that I was able to do in my spare minutes, not in my spare hours, because who has those? Thank you for joining me today, and I hope you also join me in increasing our reading this year. I'm Danielle with Hogan Life, and I'll see you next time. Remember, no one can mom your kids like you.